Alrighty guys, on part 2 of our series of covering the 3 most common faults with our 3 main lifts, today we wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about the deadlift. The first common fault we really wanted to dive into is actually this movement itself. A lot of people kind of mix this up with a squat. Let me show you what I mean. A deadlift is what we call a hinge pattern. So it should look something like this. So I'm tipping over at the hips, I've still got my neutral spine, but most of the range of motion is occurring from the hip joint, whereas a squat, of course, is hips and knees. So kind of with a weight, it should look something like this. From here, the biggest thing we tend to see is just kind of getting into this movement, so the start position, if you will. To get into this movement, I want to start with my shins pretty close to the bar here. You could think about having the laces of your shoes or the arch of your foot directly under the bar. From here, starting tall, I'm going to brace my core, keep my spine neutral, and I'm going to tip over at the hips, getting into that hinge pattern. I'm going to come down to the bar. I'm going to grab the bar with my hands just outside of my shoulders. I'm going to lock in my lats, and I'm going to press my feet into the floor, squeezing my glutes, driving my hips into the bar as I stand up. Third most common thing that we do tend to see with the deadlift is losing that neutral spine position. So a lot of times what we'll see, particularly as people get tired, is they go to initiate that lift and that back starts to round, which is not an ideal position to be in if we're loading the body with such weight. So when I'm getting into this movement, I want to again make sure that I'm braced. I've got a little bit of that lordotic curve in my low back, a little bit of the opposite curve in the upper back, and I'm going to maintain that as I get into this movement. Now for some people, if you're a little tight through the hamstrings or the back of the legs, you may not be able to reach the bar just in this position. So you may have to bend the knees a little bit to get down here, and that's fine. I'd much rather that than you try to overextend and then end up in that curved spine position. Alrighty guys, next time you're playing around with the deadlift, definitely keep these 3 things in mind. 1, it's going to help keep you safe, but 2, you might find it might actually crisp up that movement a little bit. You may actually add a few pounds to your next lift.